So we have to have the courage to say no in our relationships sometimes. There's times Chris asks me what to do, not asks me, he asks me if I want to go do something, but there's a lot of times I need to say no to him because, hey, I've got this to do right now. I'm doing this. Yeah, I would love to go out with you to do this, but this is what I have to do. So let me talk to the people. If you don't want healthy relation boundaries, right, here's some things to do. So if you don't want healthy relational boundaries, do this. Number one, never respect the request of other people. Just walk all over them. So if you don't want to have healthy boundaries in your relationship, just walk all over what other people's boundaries are. And guess what? You'll be living fine. That would be great. It'll produce something in your life, but I don't think it will produce a healthy boundaries at all. If you don't want boundaries, number two, never make your own priorities. Let people's opinions sway you. Very easy to get caught up in, right? Never make your own priorities. So don't put yourself first. Don't put your health first. Don't put your job first. Just do whatever you want to do, and that will be great for you. Number three, if you don't want healthy relational boundaries, never take care of yourself, right? You don't want to look selfish to others or neglect your stuff, right? And so that's the one I lived in for a long time, right? I lived in the fact that never take care of yourself. It literally took sickness to make me take care of myself. Right? Because I wanted to help everybody. I thought that was the Christian thing to do, is to help everybody that needs everything and never think about what Lori needs. Never rest, never eat, right? Never exercise, never take my medicine. Those were the things that guided me. And guess what? I didn't have healthy relationships because your healthy relationship starts with God and then yourself, right? And so I didn't have that at all. So, but see, with the problem of living this plan, it's insanity. It isn't suitable, and it creates dysfunction that's called codependency. I don't know if anybody's in this or ever's been in this, right? But codependency is a hard way of living. At times, codependency can literally feel like you're shackled to another person. If you are living without healthy relational boundaries, and when something comes up like sickness, emergency, or an opportunity, you will have no margin to attend to it because you are committed to fixing everyone else or having your life defined by others. Right? If Jesus had human limitations, right? He didn't think he could do 28 hours worth of work in 24 hours a day. He actually took time to rest, and he knew his limitation. If the God of the universe knows their limitations, how come we don't always know our limitations? Jesus needed people. He needed people. He couldn't do everything on his own. You know, he asked the disciples, come and watch with me. Come be with me in the Garden of Gethsemane and come and pray with me. I'm in desperate need right now. If Jesus asked for help, how come we're not asking for help, right? Number two, Jesus didn't live by the expectations of others. He wasn't a people pleaser. So you might be a people pleaser in here, and this is for you. He didn't live by the expectations of other people. In Luke 5 through 15 through 16, yet the news about him spread all the more, so that the crowd of people came to hear and to be healed of their sickness. But Jesus often withdrew to a lonely place and prayed. At the pinnacle of Jesus' ministry, he took time to go and pray. He didn't say, oh, I've got to be here now. No, he knew his limitations. He took time to go and be with the Father. I truly believe as the more people that you lead, the more God's going to call you away to come into retreat so he can fill you with what he needs to fill you with, right? So as a leader, remember I said every one of us are leaders. The more people you have on your plate, the more time you're going to need to be with Jesus. The third thing is Jesus didn't do everything for everyone. And this is for the helper people that I just want to talk to you for a couple minutes. People had to do their part. The crippled man had to stand. So Jesus didn't tell him, he didn't come and just say, hey, disciples, come here and help me lift the man up. Jesus said, stand up and take your mat and walk. He had a part to do. The other thing is the blind man to go to the pool of Siloam. It was not a short walk. We went there in Israel. You guys are going to hear something about Israel every week. Just face it, right? Just go with us, and then you'll be saying the same thing, right? He had to walk It was a walk to get to the pool of Shalom in order to be healed. The disciples had to go find lunch when they needed to feed the 5,000 people. When they came and said, Jesus, the people are hungry, they need it. Jesus says, you go and you find the food. And then they brought the food back to him. He broke it, blessed it, and multiplied. And then he gave it back to the disciples to do the work. See, when God gives us something and he tells us he's going to take care of something, then he expects us to do our own part, okay? So I'm the mother in this house, the spiritual mother of the church. So let me just be a little bit spiritual mother to you, okay? So all of you guys, right, I want to tell you, it's time for us to grow up spiritually. In the sense, there's a lot of times where God will tell you, like, hey, I'm going to do this for you. And we sit back and we wait for it to happen. See, Jesus works on this premise that we do all that we can humanly do, and then his supernatural power comes in to do it. There's lots of times as a pastor I hear, hey, God told me blank, 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 right? And that's awesome, so I'm going to sit here and wait for it. But mark my words. The word says faith without works is dead. If you're not doing your own part, that's great. God's told me a lot of things. God told me and Chris that we would have a child, right? And we lived in infertility for 8 years. I can't tell you the amount of doctor's appointments. I can't tell you the amount of changing doctors and crazy things to do. And I mean, crazy things to do. People will tell you crazy things to do when you're trying to get pregnant, right? That we did. See, Chris and I did everything in our own power. Everything humanly, our efforts in order, and then for us to have a baby. And God, he's seen our efforts and he blessed us with beautiful London, who I didn't even have to birth. We got her 1 day old from the hospital. That was God. But if I sat and just said, oh, God's going to send me a baby, no. Let's be mature, right? I want to challenge you. If God's given you a word, don't just sit back and wait. Do every single thing humanly possible. God told me he was going to make me a business owner, right? He gave me this vision for this business. You know what? What I did, I went and spent more time with God, dug into his word, and asked him, show me my steps I need to do. I didn't sit and just be like, I'm going to be a business owner one day, so y'all better look up. Like, no! I did the work. So if God's given you a word, if he's shown you something to do the work. If you don't know what to do, then sit in the presence of God and he'll tell you. He'll put people in your life for a season. He has not called us to be codependent on people. If you're waiting for God to answer your prayer and you become codependent of other people providing your needs or giving you the answers, let me tell you something really quick, codependency can happen. And God's not calling us to be codependent on other people. We need each other, but we don't need to be codependent. When you're codependent, you don't respect the other person's boundaries. You walk all over their boundaries, and then you invite people to walk into yours. So God's called us not to be codependent, but what he wants us to be is interdependent.